Our theme this month has been Minding the Mind, and today we're going to look at the topic or the title, If You Don't Mind, It Doesn't Matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Now, I put forth a little contest about that statement, about the what I called the unlikely source from which it came, and I invited people to let me know where you thought it came from. I made that invitation when I first wrote out the description of the talk, and I didn't get any response from that. That's because you didn't read it yet. It's in the pew pocket in front of you, but nobody read that, so that's okay. I don't have my feelings hurt about that at all. It's all right. So then last Sunday I mentioned it, and there was a flurry of Googling going on right after service, and a number of people emailed me. And what I said was, the first person to email me the correct answer, I will give you a prize. But there weren't that many that came in, so I decided to honor everyone who sent me an email after last Sunday. Now, I have to say that our mass email that went out late this week, it went out on Friday, that said the same thing. I had a couple of responses to that. I didn't get prizes for you guys. Sorry. And Suzanne, thank you for submitting. Thank you for playing. Play again at another contest, and you too will be able to be a winner next time. But this time, we're going to go with, it was an interesting experience, actually, because I learned something that I didn't know as a part of this little contest. So, 4 people came up with a particular name, which was not the name I was looking for, but is in fact correct in a way, and I'll explain what that way means. But for the 4 people who came up with the first name that is correct in a way, and that name is Mark Twain. So the people who came up with Mark Twain were Kevin Connor, who was in first service, Carolyn Dysick, Reverend Christopher, who got his gift already, and Deneen Smeraldo. They were all in first service, so they came up with Mark Twain. Not a wrong answer, but not the one I was looking for. The one I was looking for, 2 people got, one of whom is in this service and one of whom either was watching online first service or second, I'm not sure which. But the one name that I was actually looking for was Jack Benny. And Dennis, you got Jack Benny. So congratulations, Dennis. You get a prize. There is Dennis's prize. And Florence Easel, who is one of our online viewers, she lives in Yuma. She's online every single week. Florence, you are the second winner, and we will mail you, I'm waving to you now if this is the service you're watching, we will mail you your gift, and thank you for participating. There is one person, however, who actually got the whole thing right and wrote me this. The statement was part of a Mark Twain quote, but probably better known as a Jack Benny quote, and that person is Miss Barbara Johnstone, who's sitting right there. So if you would deliver that to Barbara, congratulations, Barbara. Thank you so much. So now let me tell you what the actual Mark Twain quote was that I didn't know. It was Jack Benny. His is the quote that I saw and decided to, he inspired me. Jack Benny. So that's really dating us, isn't it? How many of you in here do not know who Jack Benny is? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Yeah. And some of you are lying through your teeth, but, and I won't say who, Reverend Sandra. I won't say who did that. Others of you I know are telling the truth. He was a comedian of, a long time ago. Anyway, Mark Twain actually said this: age is a matter of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. That was what Mark Twain said. Jack Benny then shortened it and said, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So now you've had your little history lesson in authors and comedians, and it's our topic for today. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Now that sounds kind of fluffy and frivolous and silly and light, and it is, but there's actually a deep truth in that. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So we're going to explore what might that look like for us in our lives today. Because I don't know about you, but let me just ask. You don't have to tell me. It's a rhetorical question. But can your mind be a bit of a mischievous imp now and again? Yeah. Can it take you to lots and lots of places that maybe you don't really want to go? And it can cause things that are really not that big of a deal to become really big deals. We can sometimes get very worked up in our head and blow things out of proportion. And things that maybe shouldn't matter do matter in big ways. Or things that might matter a little bit matter in exponentially big ways. We come up with making mountains out of molehills, as the saying goes. We turn small things into large things and large things into gigantic things. We turn situations that maybe, we'd like it to be slightly different, but we turn it into this horrific, terrible thing. I used a word that a couple of weeks ago that fits here perfectly. It's called awfulizing. We do an awfully good job of awfulizing. And the mind wants to spin and zip and go here and there and make something really huge. At least that's been my experience with people I know, one of whom lives right here. Mark Twain once said, another quote from Mark Twain, "I have been through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. The others happened up in here." They can be very unruly, can't they? These things are minds. In his great book, World Religions, any of you have taken a comparative religions class with us or gone, if you have or will go through our School of Ministry, you will take a class where you read this book, World Religions, by Huston Smith. He was speaking about the Hindu religion and some of their techniques and tools, and he's speaking about meditation, but in this passage that I just love, he's talking about the mind and how unruly the mind can be. And I want to share this with you because I just think he has such a way of describing the mind. And as I'm describing it, listen, see if you don't find your mind in here, find a description of your mind. Now, he's talking about when you're trying to meditate, but this can apply to beyond just trying to meditate. It could be just trying not to have it go spin out of control. So this is what he said. "The motions of the average mind," says the Hindus, "are about as orderly as those of a crazed monkey cavorting about its cage. Nay, more than that, like the prancing of a drunk, crazed monkey. Even so, we have not conveyed its restlessness. The mind is like a drunken, crazed monkey that has St. Vitus's dance." And if you don't know what that is, it's a physical disorder that causes you to move with rapid, uncontrollable motions. To do justice to our theme, however, we must go a final step. The mind is like a drunken, crazed monkey with St. Vitus's dance who has just been stung by a wasp. Few who have seriously tried to meditate will find this metaphor extreme. The trouble with the advice to leave your mind alone is the unimpressive spectacle that remains. I tell my hand to rise, and it obeys. I tell my mind to be still, and it mocks my command. How long can the average mind think about one thing only, without slipping first into thinking about that thing, and then taking off from there on a senseless chain of irrelevancies? About 3.5 seconds, so psychologists tell us. Like a ping pong ball, the mind will alight where its owner directs it, but only to take off immediately on a jittery flight of staccato bounces that are completely out of hand. What if the mind could be turned from a ping pong ball into a lump of dough, which when thrown sticks to a wall until deliberately removed? Would not its power increase if it could thus be held in such focus? Would not its strength be compounded like the strength of a light bulb with ringed by reflectors? And then he's quoting from the Upanishads. When all senses are stilled, when the mind is at rest, when the intellect wavers not, that, says the wise, is the highest state. Meditation, a powerful tool for training and strengthening the mind. Remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about how trained thought is more powerful. Ernest Holmes said trained thought is more powerful than untrained thought. That idea coming right here out of the ancient religions, Hinduism. Meditation, a powerful way to train the mind to stay in one place until you choose to move it. I want to give you another powerful tool for keeping the mind where you want it to be when it wants to have a lot of things matter that maybe I'm going to say shouldn't put in quotes. I don't like to use that word very often, but when we awfulize. And it can be when we get a statement, a bill in the mail that is much bigger than we expected. Anybody ever have that happen? Of course, we've all had it. You think it's going to be X and it's double Y. You're like, and then, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this? How am I going to pay my rent? I'm going to be homeless. I mean, we can go down this road. Or we have a friend or a relationship, a loved one, a significant other that is just not behaving like we would like. Our mind goes, if only they would do what we want. Well, that jerk, this is gonna go this way, and now we're gonna get divorced. And our minds go off in these crazy places. You know somebody who does that, right? Yes. Okay, good. So you can pass this message on to them. Because I want to give you a tool that when you notice, and the key, we talk about this all the time, we stand guard the portals of our minds. When we notice that our mind wants to go off like that crazed monkey who's been stung by a wasp, awfulizing and making things matter way more than they need to, here is a focusing, powerful tool, and it's a question. Questions that we ask are actually very powerful. Very powerful, because when we ask a question, no matter what it is, our mind goes in a hunt to find the answer. And it will, sir, if we continue asking the question, our mind will stay on that search. And of course, because we know we're creative beings, it's all energy. When we're on a search for an answer to a question, we will find the answer. The answer will come to us. And I want to quote Holmes before I give you the question that can be really powerful. Holmes said, and I read it in our opening passage, but I want to share it again because it's so powerful. One of the most important things for us to remember is that we are always causing something to be created. And that whatever cause we have set in motion must produce some kind of effect. So when we ask a powerful question, our minds start looking for the answer. We not only start getting ideas that are the answers to the questions, but we put out an energy that attracts the answer to us. You get that, right? Because that's how it works. So here's a really powerful question to attract to you what you want, which is simply this. Given what is going on right now, what would I love here? Given what is going on right now, what would I love here? Now, I put the given what is going on in front of the what would I love here because it's important not to look at this as kind of a fantasy question, like what would I love here? I get this big bill. What would I love? Well, I'd like the bill to go away. That's what I'd love. I'd love the bill just to go away. Well, you can rip it up and throw it away, but I'm not going to make it go away, right? So that's fantasizing. We don't want to fantasize. We want to, given the fact of the situation as it is right in this moment, what would I love? Well, in that case, I could come up with I would love to pay it off with ease. I would love to be at peace about it. I would love to, not worry about it. Oh, I have an idea. And I'm speaking from experience right now. I think I'm going to call the office, this doctor's office, this was the case, and see if they'll negotiate this bill. Now, that idea wouldn't have come had the question of, what would I love right now? And the answer, I would love to be able to pay this off with ease. I have an idea. Call the office. And the answer in that case is they did. They not only reduced the price, they did a payment plan. So, powerful question to ask that makes now something that I was minding nothing that I had to worry about at all. It can also work in the reverse depending on the question you ask. As I said before, questions cause our mind to be looking for the answer, which then causes the universe to be lining up the answer. Let me give you an example of how this could work not to your good. It's a true story from Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith of the Agape International Center for Truth. I heard him speak at Revelations, I think it was years ago, and he told the story on himself. And it was this. Every day he would drive to church the same way, and for quite a while there was a the same homeless man on a particular corner. And it was a stoplight, so sometimes Michael would stop, depending on if he hit the red light. When he hit the red light, he would always engage this man in conversation. And he sometimes would have some water to give him or food to give him or something, and they would talk. And Michael realized after talking to this man a bit that he was really articulate and seemed to be pretty smart and pretty sharp. And so Michael thought to himself, how does someone smart, sharp, articulate, wind up homeless? How does that happen? And he kept asking himself that question, enough so that the universe showed him a possible way. And that came when an IRS bill showed up in Michael's, for thousands and thousands of dollars of back taxes. And he said to himself, oh my gosh, I got my answer. This is how it could happen. You know, you could get a tax bill that you can't pay and you lose everything. This is how it could happen. Now, it didn't happen to Michael, but he said he got a huge dose of reality, a reality check of the questions that you're asking. Are you asking questions that will bring in what you want versus what you don't want? Because the questions that you ask are very, very powerful. So we don't want to ask, how bad can this get, right? Unless you're, really doing an exercise. Michael reminded me between services that, wasn't John Kehoe? John Kehoe, great speaker and author, and we heard him speak years ago, gave a suggestion of, and this is just an exercise to do, not to live here, but an exercise to think of the absolutely worst thing that could happen in a situation and just take it to the extreme, like the craziest extreme that you could possibly come to. The place where you have to laugh and go, well, that is absolutely ridiculous. That can never happen. You make yourself laugh over it. That's a way to clear out all of your monkey mind stuff. That's a great way to do that, as long as you don't live in all those awfulizing places. And follow that up with, so what would I love here? That's your question that I'm going to invite you into asking over and over again. Because here's the deal. Our minds need clear boundaries. Our minds need to know that they have to stay within the limits, if you will, that we set, so that they can't just go off like that crazed monkey and do whatever they want. We get to be the ones who say, because we have a mind, lowercase m. It isn't who we are. We have it. The essence of who we are has this mind, and it is to be used to support the essence of who we are, the God being that we are, to support bringing forth the light that we are and that we stand in, which was so beautiful that Andrea sang that song this morning, that we stand in that light. So I want to give you a couple of examples, other examples. So there was an article in the paper several years ago actually, many years ago, about Clint Eastwood as a director. And the article was written around when Flags of Our Father came out. He directed that movie, and they had interviewed actors who acted in that, and everyone. And then this article was about what they were saying about him, which was, this guy is so easygoing. He doesn't get rattled by anything. Nothing upsets him. He doesn't, to use my words, he doesn't awfulize. So things don't matter to him. He doesn't mind them, so they don't matter. And the article, I'm going to read you a little piece of the article, and it's quoting an actor who they interviewed. It said, Eastwood lives in the moment. He seems undaunted by any setback and can turn any situation into the positive. He embraces everything. For example, there was a day when they had 500 extras and a complement of fighting vehicles ready to shoot a particular scene, and it started to pour rain. The scene could not be shot. Now, just pause this story for a second and think in your life, if you had that kind of scenario. Oh my gosh, we're talking money, right? How much is this going to cost? We can't shoot this scene. We've got 500 people standing around waiting to shoot the scene. We've got all the equipment set up, ready to do it, and we can't because it's raining. That could be something to mind, a big thing. Clint Eastwood, it is reported by one of the actors who worked on the movie, said, he simply moved the cameras to a new location and we shot the dream sequence instead. The rain let up in a few hours and we went back and continued on with the original scene. I mean, nothing is a problem to him. Nothing. It's always an opportunity. There it is. There it is. This is how to live this human life that has situations and challenges, and it's got its stuff that happens. But the way to live it from a God-centered place, to bring out the God that we are and have a life that works for us and others, is to don't mind it so much. Have a different attitude about it. Have a different choice to make. Make a different choice. There's a great story. I've shared it before, but Spirit would not leave me alone to share it again today, so I have to share it again today. It's been a couple years, so maybe you don't remember it, or you're new and you haven't heard it. It's called Attitude is Everything, and it's written by Francis Baltazar Schwartz. Attitude is everything. It goes like this. Jerry was the kind of guy you love to hate. He was always in a good mood and always had something positive to say. When someone would ask him how he was doing, he would reply, "If I were any better, I'd be twins." Jerry, I had somebody in first service say, "If I were any better, I'd be twins." This is after service, and my twin will be back for second service. But I don't see her out there. Okay. Jerry was a manager in the restaurant business, and a unique thing often happened to him. He had waiters follow him around from restaurant to restaurant. Why? Because of his attitude. He was a natural motivator. If an employee was having a bad day, Jerry was there telling the employee how to look on the positive side of the situation. Seeing this style really made me curious, so one day I went up to Jerry and asked, "I don't get it. You can't be a positive person all the time. How do you do it?" Each morning, Jerry replied, "Each morning I wake up and say to myself, Jerry, you have two choices today. You can choose to be in a good mood, or you can choose to be in a bad mood. I choose to be in a good mood. Each time something bad happens, I can choose to be a victim, or I can choose to learn from it. I choose to learn from it. Every time someone comes to me complaining, I can choose to accept their complaining, or I can point out the positive side of life. I choose to point out the positive side of life." "Yeah, right. It's not that easy," I said. How many of us have said that? Don't have to answer that. "Yes, it is," Jerry said. "Life is all about choices. When you cut away all the junk, every situation is a choice. You can choose how you react to situations. You choose how people will affect your mood. You choose to be in a good mood or a bad mood. The bottom line is it is a choice about how you live your life." Soon after that conversation, I left the restaurant industry to start my own business, and Jerry and I lost touch. But I often thought about him when I made a choice about life instead of just reacting to it. Several years later, I heard that Jerry did something you are never supposed to do. He left the back door of the restaurant open one early morning. And as a result, 3 armed robbers held him up at gunpoint. While trying to open the safe, his hand shook from nervousness, slipped off the combination lock. One of the robbers panicked and shot him. Jerry was found relatively quickly and rushed to the local trauma center. After 18 hours of surgery and weeks in intensive care, Jerry was released from the hospital with fragments of the bullets still in his body. I saw Jerry about 6 months after the incident. When I asked him how he was, he replied, "If I were any better, I'd be twins. Want to see my scars?" The woman writes, "I declined to see his wounds, but did ask him what had gone through his mind as the robbery took place. The first thing that went through my mind," he said, "was that I should have locked that darn back door. But then, as I was laying on the floor bleeding, I remembered that I had 2 choices. I could choose to live, or I could choose to die. I chose to live." "Weren't you scared?" I asked. Jerry continued, "Not at first. The paramedics were great. They kept telling me I was going to be fine. But when they wheeled me into the emergency room and I saw the expressions on the faces of the doctors and nurses, I got scared. In their eyes, I read, 'He's a dead man.' And I knew I needed to take action." "What did you do?" I asked. "Well, there was this big burly nurse shouting questions at me," said Jerry. "She asked if I was allergic to anything. 'Yes,' I replied. The doctors and nurses stopped working as they waited for my reply. I took a deep breath and yelled, 'Bullets!' Over their laughter, I told them, I am choosing to live. Operate on me as if I am alive, not as if I am dead. Jerry lived thanks to the skills of his doctors, but also because of his amazing attitude. I learned from him that every day we have the choice to live fully. Attitude, after all, is everything. Choice is all there is. Ernest Holmes says, prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. Prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. We prepare it through the attitude that we have, through the choices that we make, for recognizing that truly, if we don't mind, it really doesn't matter. Let's pray. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, please do that. And I always like to make these very personal, so a little preparation before we pray. I ask you this question. Is there something going on in your life right now that your mind has wanted to spin a bit about it? That whatever it is has mattered to you a lot. Maybe it's something that's gotten you in fear. Maybe it's something you're frustrated over. Maybe you're angry about it. Whatever it is, just identify it. And looking at the facts as they are, square in the face, without fantasizing something that isn't a fact at the moment, looking at the facts as they are, simply ask yourself, what would I love here? Given the situation as it is, what would I love here? Just by asking that question, what would I love here? We have tapped in to a deep and endless reservoir of good. Just by asking that simple question, we have tapped into the power of God. Because God is love. So really we're asking, what would I do as God right here? Ooh, feel that. God is love. God is the power and the presence and the life energy and the essence that is in, as, and through all things. And each and every one of us is that. We are of that. We are expressions, living, moving, walking, talking, breathing, human expressions of that. And so as we ask the question, what would I love here? And as we have asked it right now, we have, in fact, set the law in motion. And I now affirm that as we have asked the question, our minds, which are connected to the infinite mind, our lowercase m mind connected to the higher case m mind, is now gathering information from that infinite mind. I know that right now not only is our finite mind gathering information of what I would love here, but it is also gathering together the matter and the substance, which is God in form, to bring into our experience that which we would love. And so, whatever the issue is that you just identified, the solution is made clear. And I affirm and know that if there is an action to be taken, that it is taken with expediency and courage and grace. I know that if there is a receiving to happen, to allow spirit as substance to come into your experience, to answer the question, what would I love, that we allow it, that we open ourselves up to receive the good that we have now called in. So I proclaim it, I know it, and it is done. And in the knowing it is done, there is absolute magic. At least it seems that way. It seems as if it's magical. In fact, it is simply the way it works. So I'm grateful for the way it works. I'm grateful for the instant manifestation of what we would love in our lives right here and right now. And in that gratitude, there's a rejoicing. In that gratitude, there's a lightness of being. In that gratitude, there's a celebration. And then in that celebration, I release. I let go. I trust. And I know that it is done. And in that trusting and in that knowing, I proclaim together and we proclaim together. And so it is. Amen.